Is Brandon Staley on borrowed time with the Chargers? A bitter San Diego pitcher accuses the Dodgers of stealing signs, and Dante Moore is shooting down rumors that he already wants to leave UCLA. What? Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is August 9th, 2023. I have one more week of work left to go on an assignment in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Heading out after this clip. Totally sucks for me, but that's life. What brightens the mood? Talking LA sports. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And comment. There's always good stuff to talk about. So before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Clean sweep for the Angelenos yesterday. Good times. Starting off in Arizona, Mookie Betts goes 2 for 4 with a double, 2 RBI and a run. Dodgers 5, Arizona 4. LA leads the NL West by 5 games. 5 of them. The boat race has started. It's a beautiful day for a sail out in the NL West. Meanwhile, LAFC 4, Salt Lake 0. The Black and Gold advanced to the League's Cup quarterfinals. 2 goals from Dennis Bouanga. The quarterfinals, though, there's not a lot of rest. The quarterfinals take place on Friday against Monterrey at the Rose Bowl. The Sparks are playing Atlanta. The Sparks are beating Atlanta, 87-80. Nneka Ogwumike led the Sparks with 20 points and 11 rebounds. Meanwhile, today, the Dodgers are at Arizona again at 6:40. Bobby Miller is 6-2 with a 4.26 ERA. Merrill Kelly is 9-5 with a 3.21 ERA. So, an anonymous NFL executive said Brandon Staley, the Chargers quote, is a really bad coach with a great roster. It blows my mind that they don't win. What's the difference between Justin Herbert and Troy Aikman? Nothing. They're smart, accurate, big arm, great guys and leaders off the field. They should be rolling, but they haven't been, unquote. This is a takedown of Brandon Staley. It's an ugly little comment on his head coaching career. And I have to be honest with you, it's new. Because up until this time, all we've been reading about are complaints from the fans, complaints from the scribes, after that choke out in Jacksonville in the playoffs. And I don't call it a choke to be a hater. There was no legitimate reason why the Jaguars should have come back and won that game. The Chargers were slapping them up and down the field. It was a mollywhopping all over that field in the first half. The Chargers had no reason to lose that game. Now, we've been reading about Staley on the hot seat, but that's pointless chit-chat amongst the scribes. Now we're hearing it from NFL executives. Now, I will grant you that this executive didn't go on record. The coaching fraternity does have this bit of pointless CW primetime show, pointless high school drama edge to it, right? Just a lot of knives out, but nobody knows who's slipping it in between your ribs. But the execs are the ones who do the hiring. So when the execs think you stink at your job, that matters. The exec also said that the Chargers haven't placed real pressure on Staley yet in terms of his job status because they're cheap. If they fire him, they have to buy him out and give him a fat check as a golden parachute. So they don't want to do that, and they think he's a nice guy. Now, if you want to know my 2 cents, if it matters, I can see why he's on the hot seat. I also thought he was too young to be hired as a head coach. Just because you work under Sean McVay doesn't make you Sean McVay. Sean McVay is a unicorn, for Pete's sakes. In the grand scheme of things, traditional NFL, Sean McVay should have never been coach of the Rams. The Rams caught lightning with Sean McVay. I'm not sure the Chargers did with Brandon Staley. But who am I? The offensive line has a unique sense of camaraderie in football. You know, you may have a wide receiver room, but once practice starts and once the game starts, you got a couple over here and a couple over there. In a group, though, like the offensive line, everybody's always together, whether it's in the film room, lining up on the field. You guys get to know each other very closely in that sense. There's sort of an esprit de corps, the camaraderie. And when there's a group like that, somebody winds up being the leader. Somebody winds up being the alpha. Without that big dog being the alpha, everybody else struggles because they don't know who to rely on. For the Chargers offensive line, is it possible that Rashawn Slater is that alpha? He missed a practice just Sunday, one practice. And the Chargers defensive line was in the backfield of the Chargers offense all day in this 11-on-11 scrimmage. Now, to be clear, Slater is not suffering a long-term injury. He was back at practice on Tuesday. But it does make you wonder about the impact that that one guy has on the offensive line, if he's the one guy that they can't afford to miss. Now, you might be saying, well, maybe the defense had a great day. So who had a great day, James? Fair question. According to the scribes, it's Tui Pelotu, who impressed people by crashing the offensive line repeatedly and had 2 sacks. And what I mean by sacks, with the finger quotes, you're not taking down a quarterback in practice. That's not happening. The Athletic is reporting that the surprise of Chargers camp has been wide receiver John Hightower. Through just 10 practices, Hightower has caught 27 passes. That is second only to Keenan Allen. And Allen, by the way, is far and away the receptions leader. If you count those things in practice, he has 47. Hightower was originally a 5th-round pick for the Eagles back in 2020. Also, J.C. Jackson, the cornerback who had his knee repaired last year, has returned to practice. You might recall he had soreness in the surgically repaired knee. Coaches are just saying this is part of the recovery process. Did you enjoy the Pudres getting mollywopped down at Petco Park all weekend long as much as I did? I couldn't get enough. It's like somebody handing you this big plate of ribs and the meat is just falling off the bone and the sauce is amazing and you know you're putting on pound after pound, but you just can't stop slamming those ribs. It's just a great time. Well, it comes at somebody's expense. Padres starting pitcher Seth Lugo was not a happy guy. He accused the Dodgers of stealing signs during Monday's ass whipping. Okay, fine. But this is entirely different from what accusations of cheating were against Houston and Boston. First of all, it was in Petco Park. The Houston Astros and Boston Red Sox stole signs at home using a bunch of electronic gadgets out in center field to try to steal the signs from the catcher behind the home plate. The Dodgers, on the other hand, noticed what the catcher was doing and relayed the signs when they had a runner on second base. Electronics at your home stadium, just happened to notice that the catcher is making it super duper obvious where the pitch is going to go. One is cheating with electronics. The other is just simply being alert. So, sorry. I'm not buying this whole idea that the Dodgers are a bunch of cheaters. Because, by the way, what the Dodgers did, totally legal. The Red Sox and the Astros were punished by doing things that were not legal. Using electronics, using signals and clips, and banging trash cans. For all I know, they were using AI. Skynet became self-aware. But what the Dodgers simply did, when they get a runner on second base and the catcher was lining way too much on the inside, a Dodger runner might be signaling, hey, pitch is going in. Simple as that. This is why catchers have anybody in the majors, anybody in high school baseball will tell you, when a runner's on second base, you have special signals to give to the pitcher. Why? So that they don't get stolen and sent to the other team. And by the way, if that doesn't work, baseball has street justice. You put a pitch in somebody's ear if you think they're stealing signs. So spare me, Mr. Lugo. You got worked. JD Martinez was scrapped from the lineup Tuesday due to groin and hamstring tightness. He flew back to LA. He's scheduled for an MRI. He might even get an injection to relieve pain and numbness. Dave Roberts is still holding out hope Martinez can avoid the injured list Martinez originally left a game due to injury to his lower back, or what they thought was his lower back, July 30th. He has complained as recently as last week that he couldn't walk. And yet, this particular injury is intermittent. He did play in San Diego over the weekend. Rumors began swirling about freshman quarterback Dante Moore over at UCLA being unhappy that the NIL compensation isn't enough, and therefore he's already considering a transfer. Now, to his credit, Moore, who says he avoids going online because he doesn't want to read a whole bunch of stuff about himself, he went to social media and tweeted or X'd or whatever the hell you want to call it, and disabled the rumor mill. Quote, "Totally false. I'm blessed and thankful to be a Bruin. I love being around this brotherhood," unquote. And by the way, it wasn't just him. It was relatives and friends who were like, "No, I just talked to Dante. He loves being in Westwood. Shut the bleep up." How much you want to bet that somebody in Oregon started this rumor? Moore originally committed to Oregon before saying, "No, I'm going to go to UCLA," because he wants playing time. We also know that Oregon has boatloads of money coming in from Nike. I'm not saying I know, but it sounds like something that could have happened. I'll tell you that. Have you ever wondered why Sean McVay stayed with the Rams? The dude is still in his 30s. He's still the youngest coach in the NFL, but it does have that kind of he's been around this team forever vibe, you know? And by the way, he gets wound up really tight. Why stay? Relax, right? You're still a young guy. Your wife is super young as well, very attractive. Some would say hot. And you have a kid on the way. So why stay with the Rams, who are obviously restructuring pretty much everything from the foundation? Is it possible McVay believes that he has a shot at the Hall of Fame if he stays? CBS listed coaches by how close they are to qualifying for that stupid yellow jacket and a flight to Canton, Ohio. 4 coaches they listed are sure things. Number 5 on the list is Sean McVay. They just don't put him as a sure thing yet. They describe him as could make it, but needs to do a little more. They put Sean McVay ahead of Sean Payton. They put Sean McVay ahead of Jim Harbaugh. Maybe that's why. If he can rebuild the Rams on the fly, get them back to the playoffs and all the other stuff, maybe that seals his position in Canton by the time he's like 45. Just saying. Aaron Donald told ESPN he believes he has a lot to prove after last season, which was the least productive of his career. Only 5 sacks in 11 games. He had 11 sacks at minimum each of the 5 previous seasons, so that was a hell of a drop-off. His season was cut short due to an injured ankle. Also, it's not just him that he is being inspired over, his own numbers, his own legacy. He looked across to his teammates and said, quote, "There are a lot of guys that are doing work. Obviously, it's a process." On the defensive line, he said Ernest Brown and Bobby Brown have looked good. Kobe Turner, the rookie, has looked good in flashes. So take those 2 cents to try to figure out what the Rams have on the DL. Meanwhile, ESPN's Bill Barnwell listed 23 players he believes are poised to have breakout seasons. The Rams' defensive back Kobe Durant is listed as someone who could move from simply being a rotation player to breaking out to a solid starter. The thinking is Durant can't replace Jalen Ramsey, but if Durant could grow into something worthy of the so-called star position that Ramsey had, then Raheem Morris has added a key piece to the Rams' defensive restructuring. Shams Charania of The Athletic reports that the Clippers in Philadelphia will re-engage trade talks for James Harden. Charania suggested if the Clippers don't want to send out too much to Philly, which is strange, by the way, because you could never match what you're sending out for James Harden, a former MVP, a third team might get involved. I'm still going to say I'm skeptical of the story. Ty Lue also told the LA Times that while it will remain important to keep players healthy, quote, "We've also got to take the regular season more serious as far as coming in and playing hard every night. Our fans deserve that. Just try to get one of those good seeds where the last 10 games of the season, you're not fighting and clawing, trying to stay out of the play-in game." Those are the games you can kind of rest and get your body ready for the playoffs, unquote. And of course, he's right. This is a problem the Clippers have had ever since they added Kawhi Leonard, frankly. Also of note, Lou is envisioning Russell Westbrook as a starter. Finally, the Lakers. I got to get this out of my system. I will be forever baffled, absolutely baffled, by how many non-stories there are about the Lakers. We have gone over repeatedly how free agent from Dallas, Christian Wood, is kind of a bad guy, a bad teammate. And yet somebody wrote about how the Lakers wouldn't go to sign and trade to acquire him. We know. This is something we already knew. The Lakers have more talent across the roster than the Mavericks do. Why help Dallas get better just to give more money to a clubhouse cancer? Why would you do that? Christian Wood gets the league minimum from the Lakers. Take it or leave it. But that's not even the stupidest headline I read about the Lakers yesterday. Somebody actually put hands on a keyboard and typed out the following: Rui Hachimura has a chance to show he's ready to replace LeBron. What? It always reminded me of when I lived in Hollywood. There were these comics who loved to do impressions of Morgan Freeman, right? Love to do impressions of Morgan Freeman. Hey guys, can you imagine Morgan Freeman working at a Starbucks? It might look something like, no, I can't. Up yours. You, I can imagine working at a Starbucks. Not Morgan Freeman. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. And I can't imagine somebody like Rui Hachimura, who we like, but you can't replace LeBron James. Go back and get your latte, pal. I don't even know what a Starbucks menu has. I hear they have something called Ventis. Ugh. Morgan Freeman dishing out Ventis over at the Starbucks is more likely than Rui Hachimura replacing LeBron James. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Tell me if you believe that Brandon Staley actually is on the hot seat over with the Chargers. Tell me what you think about Dante Moore possibly leaving UCLA, which obviously he's shooting down. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Quien Corte El Queso production. Take care.